When I went into the gay community, I was confronted with a whole new world. There were parties, flashing lights, personalities, open love, drinking, drugs, late nights, drag queens, lust, pounding music, innuendos, flirting, vanity, aggressive masculinity, pink, rainbows, fashion, all the things that I was not familiar with. It's true that for people coming into the gay community, they're making a step forward in their life, or so they think. Usually, the story is a man or a boy leaves his more traditional or conservative background and walks into a new chapter within the embrace of the LGBTQ community. So he leaves one structure and goes into another structure. There are so many elements that I can talk about with each part of those lives. But today, I want to mainly focus on one that is so fundamental to the life of a gay man, and that is his masculinity. Obviously, the conception is everything is rooted within his gayness. But the reality is there's something even more fundamental behind that, and that is his masculinity. In fact, I don't understand how people can separate man with gay. I mean, I thought the whole idea of being a gay man was that you're a man attracted to another man. There's this concept that has been going around, and I'm sure that you've heard of it. Usually it's made as an attack towards men in the culture, in the public eye, that people don't agree with, or they want to destroy their reputation. Toxic masculinity. Although there's so many aspects to the concept of toxic masculinity, I want to look at it at a more general perspective, as a structure. One of the hardest aspects of growing up as a gay man, and remember, I'm also a gay man, is the fact that we just couldn't live up to the expectations of a former time. Men before were expected not only to be strong, to be supporters, to defend the weak and women, but they were also expected to like women. And for a gay man, that is impossible. So for a gay man to find his place within the social structure, it's important to make some changes or expand the idea of masculinity, that it's not only about men liking women. So I understand this attack for that part of masculinity. But the reality, what really happened, is so much more intense and darker. It was not enough to remove the stigmas of that toxic masculinity. They had to throw out everything. They had to destroy the structure. They had to even destroy the idea of structure. Their attack was twofold. On the one side, they wanted to destroy any sort of structure which may one day include the discrimination of a certain group of people. But they also attacked masculinity, the concept. They told people, and they tell people, that masculinity is indefinable. It can be whatever. It can be whatever you decide it is for you. Now this brings up a very interesting point, because of course we can come up with new ideas, new concepts, new perspectives for life, and then we experiment, and then we see where it goes, and we see if it was actually better or worse. Is it better to live within structure, or is it better to just let people do whatever they want? Do you think that structure is necessary? Do you think that a system is necessary? Well, every day you go about doing your tasks in a certain order. because you want to perform that task, reach your goal, and be effective. And we do hundreds of these tasks every day. But in this new perspective of the progressives, they are not satisfied with just saying these toxic traits of certain men are bad and we shouldn't follow them. No. They go more general. They go deeper. They destroy the makeup of one's identity. They say, you make your own identity. And it sounds great. It sounds beautiful and freeing and open. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Is that how it really is in practice? One aspect of being a human is being social. We live in groups. I mean, the basic, essential group that we live in is the family. We need our family. And we learn how to act within that family, within the community, based on the things that we learn from other people. In this new conception of masculinity, the father wouldn't be able to teach the son anything. The son would just have to grow and feel himself and then eventually declare, this is my type of masculinity. Instead of learning how to be both an individual and also a thriving member of society, the reality of this modern interpretation is the individual doesn't know who they are, and they try to change the reality. They try to change society to accept them. It's a lot more radical than any of us could think. But there's free love, there's no discrimination, everyone's so happy and free. No matter how much people point at traditionally masculine characters and heroes and say how bad and how toxic they are, boys are still going to look up to men that they admire for certain qualities that they hold in order to imitate. That's going to happen. You can point at the athlete and say, oh, he's toxic, he's too competitive. Or you can look at Batman and say, oh, he's too aggressive. And you can even say that your own father is toxic because he lives in a different type of structure. He wakes up in the morning, goes to work, makes money to support his family because maybe it's something that he's proud of and it gives him purpose in life and direction. And for gay boys and men, they look at those same men and they admire those same men, although maybe they don't connect with them in every single aspect. Maybe the person they admire isn't gay, but that doesn't matter. They're not throwing away the whole person because they don't exactly represent them. No, they have qualities that the person wants to aspire towards. And because the society is throwing out all of those figures as being toxic, those images of certain qualities that anyone in their right mind would hold up as really good and really admirable in anyone. Things like dedication, defending people, as being a warrior of justice, as being strong in character, of representing your point of view and having principles. All of those things are thrown away, and what's left? Who are the heroes of the gay youth now? No matter what society that you live in, one that accepts gays or not, one that has a visible LGBT community or not, the life of a gay man nowadays is something very challenging. Not just because they're a man, and men are being silenced and attacked for their masculinity. Not just because they have to deal with just the normal day-to-day existence that everyone else has to deal with. It goes more fundamental. They don't even know who they are. They don't even know their identity. The most they can say is, I am a gay man. Emphasis on gay. The man part, not so much. One concept that is being lost in today's society, which for a lot of people is going to sound like an oxymoron, is structure is freedom. Having some sort of system is freedom. For example, you go to work and your boss says, I want you to do this, 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 and this today. You know in your head, okay, that's my goal. And now I have to plan, structure, order my day in order to reach those tasks. That's how life is. But imagine going to the same job. You walk in and the boss says, do whatever you want. Not only you define your own tasks, but you define your own position in the job. You define everything. Is that a functioning workplace? Will you go home every night and say, I accomplished something? But what are we doing to gay men nowadays? There was obviously some changes that had to happen within the mentality of former times. And that's a conversation that should be had, that I haven't heard, because in the act of destroying the past structure, what is the new structure? What do they give us in return?
Second, define your own masculinity. You get to decide what masculinity means to you. It doesn't have to be in opposition to femininity. It can be in cooperation with it.
Nothing. In the act of destroying the heroes that men have looked up to, the timeless figures that have imparted certain ideas, that have inspired men to be better. Who have they given us? RuPaul? I'll leave you with a hard reality that a lot of people do not want to talk about, and that is the suicide rate among men. Within the gay community, for the gay men, I've looked at a few statistics, and it seems like it's about double the probability from the heterosexual counterpart. And those studies will go on to cite that the reason for that is basically that they were discriminated when they were in the home, that there was some sort of violence, and they leave it at that, like there's no other possibility. So I thought, well, what is the rate among men in general? And it turns out that men in the United States are nearly 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. There's a problem out there with masculinity, and especially gay men have not only the problem of figuring out what their masculinity is, but then being gay on top of that. Imagine that pressure. This is a conversation that needs to happen. Instead of subverting any semblance of structure, of any sort of masculinity, anything that gives purpose and aspiration to these young men, we should be focused on understanding what true masculinity is, without saying that everything from the past was wrong and all the heroes and all of the great figures of masculinity in the past were wrong, were misogynist, were toxic. We should give a structure to these young men, and especially the young gay men. I'm sure that most boys, after being obsessed with Batman, didn't go around at night fighting criminals in the name of justice. But they did learn that we have to fight for justice. Thank you so much for watching this very lighthearted video. Please like and share, comment down below, subscribe. I appreciate any sort of help that you can give to the channel. And if you are able to monetarily support me, because I'm the one behind the curtain, I have a page called Ko-fi. It's like Patreon, where you can go and donate money. You can become a member, and there's special content for people who are able to donate money as an incentive. This is just the beginning of the conversation, but I'd like to hear your ideas down below. Have a wonderful day.